If you are an Ottawa Senators fan, you're eating extremely well this season. And here's why. On the NHL standings page on January 24th, 2026, the Ottawa Senators were 15th overall in the Eastern Conference. They were barely over 500. And if you looked at the NHL in its entirety, the Sens were 25th in the league. Meanwhile, you go all the way to today, 2 months later, also keeping in mind the fact that there was an Olympic break. Now, the Ottawa Senators are 11th in the National Hockey League, and they are holding on to the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. 38 wins, 24 losses, 9 overtime losses, 85 points in 71 games played. They do trail the Boston Bruins by 3. They have a game in hand, though. They are also just 1-2 points back out of Columbus and Pittsburgh in the Metro. I know Ottawa isn't in the Metro, but still, the ground that the Senators have made up to get to this point cannot be understated. It's impressive. It's amazing. The team is 8-2-0 in their last 10. And now, you take a look at the MoneyPuck.com NHL playoff odds. The Ottawa Senators went from a team that was second last in the East to having a pretty stable 73.4% chance at making the playoffs. And heck, it's not even just making the playoffs that we can talk about here. You see, MoneyPuck.com calculates their playoff odds and their everything else odds based off of a rolling average of how these teams play over the previous, I think it's 5 games or something. With that in mind, the Ottawa Senators, as we had mentioned, they've been on a pretty big heater the past few weeks. So if you look at the rest of these odds over here, what are the odds that specific NHL teams make the second round? Well, the Colorado Avalanche have a 72% chance of doing that. The Ottawa Senators, they've got a 36.6% chance they make round 2. That's not that bad, honestly. It's greater than 1/3. You go to the third round, and you see that the Ottawa Senators have a 20.8% chance at making the conference finals. That chance is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th in the NHL. What about making the Stanley Cup Finals? Well, you're starting to see a bit of a pattern here. The Ottawa Senators have an 11.6% chance of making the Stanley Cup Final. Good enough for 8th overall in the NHL? It almost seems unreal. And when you look at the odds to winning the Stanley Cup, the Ottawa Senators are 7th overall. 6.4% chance at winning Lord Stanley's Grail. Now, I will say, the odds are updated every day. They're updated every however many hours it is. So this actually is technically outdated compared to what was posted about on the R Ottawa Senators subreddit. Yesterday, MoneyPuck.com had the Senators at the 3rd highest odds to win the Stanley Cup. They had a 7.9% mark, which was behind Colorado's 15.3% and Carolina's 12.6%. The numbers are there in the middle of the screen. But the Ottawa Senators, going on such a tear the past 2 months, which you also have to remember included an Olympic break, has put them in absolutely domineering territory. To be able to claw back from being in the bottom spot of the Eastern Conference, or at least a few points away from the bottom spot, all the way to right here, you're 3rd overall in the NHL and Cup odds. Maybe today it's a little bit different because the website says you're down there at 7th, but you're still in it. You're in the thick of it, and the fact that they have a 73% chance of making the dance, that's already miraculous enough. Let's go out there and read some of the comments here from the R Ottawa Senators faithful. Sens fans going out there and sharing their opinions on their team. Ignoring injuries, the Senators have Stanley Cup winning level depth. A fourth line of Warren Foegele, Lars Eller, and Fabian Zetterlund is actually crazy. 2 20-goal scorers with a rock-solid defensive center. The best shutdown line in the league in Cousins, Pinto, and Amadio. A third pairing of Clevin and Spence is among the league's best. The question really is whether or not their stars are good enough to carry. A reply says it's definitely going to be a big ask, especially a big ask for young players like Yakemchuk or Donovan. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of faith in the young talent coming up. Yakemchuk just showed a sliver of his ability against Detroit in a clutch game. If we can play out this season with the defensive shutdown system we've been running, all we need is good goaltending and the production will come. Definitely haven't clinched anything yet, vibes are high, but certainly it was a critical game, and Yakemchuk showed some good stuff. Speaking about it, I just wanted to give some shout-out, some love over here to that Carter Yakemchuk, who made his NHL debut in a pretty dire situation. The Senators lose out on a bunch of their defense in a super important game, and then they get the Red Wings the next night. They need to call up Carter Yakemchuk. He's got to make his debut after being a Belleville Senator all year. And in his first, most important game of his life, he gets a goal and an assist in a 3-2 win? How ridiculous is that? You really can't write it any better. The Detroit Red Wings were in a pretty dire situation themselves. They needed the 2 points. It was at home. Dylan Larkin was coming back, and Ottawa took it to them. All without a number of their notable defensemen. Guys that ended up getting injured in the previous game against the New York Rangers. So, yeah, that's a pretty neat trivia fact. Let's go back out there and read some comments over here. We can have a Sens and Sabres Eastern Conference final, just like in 2007. Lindy Ruff and Travis Green will yell at each other. I feel like 78% is a bit generous, but I assume this is assuming the current pace continues. A 3-game slide could be catastrophic for any team in the hunt. If the current pace continues, it's 100%. Going 8-2-0 in the last 10 sails the Senators into the playoffs. Tampa is going to be tough, and the Sens play them twice. Their schedule ain't easy, and they're down some important pieces. Hopefully Sanderson returns soon. If they can go 6-4 or 7-3, they'll have a good shot. Now, that's a great comment. Let's go out there and look at tankathon.com and take a look at the strength of schedule for these remaining games over here. The Ottawa Senators have the 4th most difficult schedule to end off the year. They've got Carolina once, Buffalo once, Tampa twice, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders. They do have some easy opponents. They've got the Maple Leafs, the Devils, and the Florida Panthers twice. But ultimately, the strength of schedule for Ottawa is not great. There are teams that are further down that do have easier opponents. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Detroit Red Wings are over here. Now, I guess, for what it's worth, you could also say, hey, the Blue Jackets, the Islanders, and the Bruins all have the most difficult schedules in the NHL to finish off the year. And these teams are all fighting for what is essentially 2 or 3 playoff spots. But as you scroll down, you can see that there aren't really too many Eastern Conference teams on this list near the bottom, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the West is just so bad, and a lot of these Western teams are playing amongst each other. But ultimately, the Sens, they have a really good chance at making something happen this year, something that we were not expecting at all 2 months ago. And all I gotta do is give my props to the Ottawa Senators and their guys for going out there and making it happen. You've got clutch performances from leaders. Brady Tkachuk's looking awesome. Timmy Stew's doing his thing. Young guys are stepping into the lineup and filling in roles that need filling up. And right now, MoneyPuck's putting Ottawa in a pretty good spot. So with that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Ottawa Senators playoff odds, the fact that they're one of the favorites to winning the Cup based off the way they've played recently, and whether or not you think that's going to hold before the season ends later in April. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.